Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Today we're going to take a look at a really cool feature within the Nintex workflow product for Office 365 document generation. Before we get started, I just have a couple of quick housekeeping announcements to cover. All attendees are in listen-only mode, and since we've got a lot to cover, we won't be stopping for questions along the way, but we encourage you to please feel free to use the GoToWebinar chat window and submit any questions that you may have, and we'll be sure to take those and answer those at the end. All right. So just a quick little bit of info about who I am. Are you saying this? Mm-hmm. My name is Nicole Presby. I'm a senior SharePoint consultant here at Abel Solutions, where Nintex is one of my primary areas of expertise. Because of the work I've been able to do here at Abel, I'm also a virtual technical evangelist for Nintex, which basically means that I'm really active in community events. I handle all of the pre-sales demos and discussions for Abel Solutions, and also lead our Nintex consulting and training service offerings. Feel free to check out my blog. I've got it listed there on the slide. I typically post tips and tricks that you may find useful on your SharePoint and Nintex journey. And then also worth mentioning, Abel Solutions is one of Nintex's premier partners, and we've had a super close relationship for many, many years. And then so for more information about us, about Abel Solutions or Nintex, which is the products that we're going to highlight today, please feel free to check out the websites listed at the bottom of this slide up right now. Oh, and just a quick plug. One example of those community events that I was mentioning is the upcoming Nintex InspireX conference, which is being held in New Orleans this coming February. Abel Solutions will be a sponsor, and we'd love to see you guys all there. Registration is still open, so jump on over to nintex.com and get registered today. It should be great. Now, onto the agenda for today. We're going to start out with just a few slides to cover an overview of the Nintex product suite for those of you who may not be familiar, and document generation in general and how it can be useful to add into your automated processes. And then from there we're going to jump into a live demo. So don't worry, this won't be death by PowerPoint. It's going to be primarily live demo, and we're going to take a look at a few different things. We're going to see a real-life business example, so that we can see how automated document generation works from an end-user perspective. Then we're going to jump in and take a look at how it's all built out on the back end with our Nintex Forms and Workflow Designer. And while we're in the Workflow Designer, we're going to walk through the configuration options available with the document generation action, which includes working with templates and this cool tagger feature that's going to make generating dynamic documents based off of your workflow data super, super simple. Okay. Now for those of you who may be newer to Nintex, I just want to give a quick overview of all that the Nintex product suite has to offer. So first, on the left-hand side you see there, we've got Nintex Workflow. That's kind of the meat of the product suite, and that's going to allow you to build out and automate your business processes really quickly and easily. Then we've got Nintex Forms, which is going to provide a user interface to kick off those workflows with powerful business logic built right into the data capture stage. Nintex Mobile is an offering that extends your workflows and forms so that users can stay connected no matter where they are. And then finally, we've got several Nintex connectors, which are going to allow you for seamless integration to other cloud-based applications that your organization may be using. So a really nice, rich platform that Nintex provides for us. All right. So with that, let's jump right into our main topic for today, and we'll get started by talking about what document generation really means. What do we mean when we say document generation? So many companies have a need to generate documents as part of a business process. What document generation does that we're going to see is allows users to customize and then automate the document creation process using Office 365, SharePoint, and Nintex. Okay, so what exactly does that mean, though, in more detail? As with all of our processes, automated document generation is going to start with data. Once the data is captured via typically one of our Nintex forms, we can then push that into a Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or even a PDF document. Now those documents that we're creating, they can either be a single document file, or we can actually make a compilation of several documents. So let's say you need to prepare a project proposal and send it off to a potential client, which consists of like an Excel spreadsheet and a Word document. What Nintex Workflow is going to allow you to do is prepare one single PDF with both of those assets, and then through some of the connectors, we can automatically deliver that document directly to the client for review and even sign off through several of our workflow connectors. All right. Now, documents are always going to be a part of our process, but creating those documents doesn't have to be this one-off and manual, painful process. And since the need for creating those documents occurs sometimes as frequently as every day, or even maybe multiple times a day, it makes a lot of sense to try and streamline these as much as possible. And then we see that different departments, teams, even different lines of business within your organization may have different documents that could, or maybe should even, be automated. So if we look up here, we've got some common documents that we see with a lot of our clients, from quotes and proposals on the sales side to terms and conditions and contracts and legal. We've got work orders, repair orders, service documents for the field team. And these are all common documents that are a standard, typical part of doing business, and without automation, sometimes these can often introduce inefficiencies into your process. So, what do you think? Can you relate to any of these? Are there other processes and documents that may be slowing you down on a daily basis? Maybe you've even run into some of these. So without automation, you can experience inefficiencies within your organization, and nobody likes that. These inefficiencies can take time away from critical projects, increase opportunity for errors, lead to loss of information, even bottlenecks within your processes, like manual interventions, missteps, dropped actions, things like that. This is where Nintex really, really shines. So the focus with Nintex is always on helping clients optimize their businesses by taking the burden off of IT and allowing end users to focus on what really matters. So, since we talked about some of the risks of not automating, let's talk about what are some of the benefits to incorporating this type of document generation. First of all, an increase in productivity by standardizing documents and automating their creation. Configurability, so we're reducing complexity by assembling documents using data from various business applications, all inside of Office 365. And then accuracy, so we're going to improve accuracy by ensuring consistency of business critical documents. Okay, so now that we have a good understanding of exactly what document generation is and how it can be useful, let's walk through an example process. So this is where we will leave our slideshow behind. And everybody pray to the demo gods that my demo goes good. So before we get started, I just want to point out a couple of things. So we are in an Office 365 environment, and I have a quote request list here. So I've got a, oops, hang on one second, there we go. All right. So this is our quote request list. This list has a Nintex form that people can fill in by clicking on this new button at the top, or maybe from a web part somewhere else on the site, maybe even the Nintex mobile app. Now I also have a list of clients. And this basically contains some basic contact information like contact name, phone number, email, a couple of addresses. We even see a unique client identifier here. And basically what we're going to see is that when we're filling out our quote request form, we'll be able to pick a client from this list, just the client name, and then all of the pertinent information is going to be dynamically populated onto our quote document. So let's see what that user experience is like for requesting and then generating a quote. And I just want to say too, for now we're going to focus on the browser-based experience. There is kind of this mobile experience, and maybe we'll focus on that in a future webinar. All right. So I'm just going to jump back over to my quote request list, and I'm going to click on my new button at the top here. And we're going to open up a new quote request form, which has been customized with Nintex forms. And essentially, I'm just going to put in all of the information that I might put in when I'm looking to generate a quote request for my client. So let's say we're doing a rebrand and migration of someone's intranet. Our client's going to be client ABC. I'm real creative with my little sample information here. And then I'm just going to pop a big chunk of information in here as my description. And our hourly rate's going to be $185, and let's just say it's an 80-hour estimate. Of course, this would be a super small project. Anyone who knows anything about SharePoint knows it's nearly impossible to do anything in 80 hours, let alone a rebrand and migration, but we'll just be real wishful thinking here and say it's going to be an 80-hour project. And my form is going to take those two values and go ahead and calculate out the total estimate so I can make sure that that's exactly what I want. And then I'm just going to save my form off. So now what that's going to do is that's going to create a new line item in my quote request list. So we see here's my intranet rebrand and migration project with client ABC, my description, my hourly rate, my total estimate, and then if I give a quick refresh on my page, we see here that I've got this generate quote document workflow that has now kicked off and is in progress. So what that's going to do is that's going to actually send the quote through an approval process, and then if it's approved, ultimately go ahead and generate that document based on the information that was provided on that form or captured along the way throughout the process. Now, rather than have to go ahead and approve the quote that I just submitted, we're going to just take a look at one that has already completed and see kind of how we're going to speed the process up and skip that approval. So I'm just opening up a form that I previously submitted for a quote that was previously generated. And here we see information similar to what I just filled in on my form. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on over to the quote document library right here. So here is my completed quotes library. So essentially what happens is when the workflow generates the documents, we need to tell it where those documents should go live, and this quotes library is exactly where those live. And you can see I've got a couple of PDF documents here, and then here, this client 123_7, again, super creative with the naming conventions here. This is the document that was generated from the form we were just looking at. And if we open that up, you'll see now what we get is a really nicely generated form, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. So here we go. Okay, so we see now we've got a nicely formatted document, we've got our logo at the top, and then we've got various bits of data populated along the way in our document. So we've got the date that the quote was generated, we get an invoice number that the workflow is automatically, dynamically assigning. We see an expiration date here, and the expiration date again is also dynamically generated from the workflow. It's going to calculate 30 days out from the date that the that the quote was generated. And then we see our company information here, and then we also see the client information. So all that we selected on our form was client 123, and the workflow went and queried into that client list to pull back our contact name, the address, phone number, and then even the client ID that's referencing for that client. And then if we look down further, we can see we've got a nice formatted table here with our description populated in, an hourly rate of $185, our estimated hours, our total estimate, and then even further down at the bottom, we can see the name of the user who generated this quote request, some standard kind of legal mumbo jumbo, and then a place for the client to sign. Now, we could even automate the signature process, so we don't have that built into this example here for the interest of time of this demo. We're keeping it kind of specific, but we could then take this another step further and automate the signature process with one of our Nintex connectors like DocuSign to capture those digital signatures and pass it right on back to us. All right. Now that we see the end user experience, and hopefully you guys, I wish I could see you guys so I could see all the oohs and ahs and wows. So yeah, thank you for my colleagues in the room with me. So now let's have a look at how this is all coming together behind the scenes. So we're going to start with our form. So I'm just going to jump over here. I've got my form that we were just creating. Now we've got it opened in the Nintex Forms Designer. And it looks really similar to what we filled out when we kind of started off our example. The one thing that I want to point out here, and you know, it's a basic kind of data capture, and this could be beefed up the way that you need it to be. We've got a calculated value here that's calculating out our total estimate. And then the one thing that I wanted to point out is that in addition to this desktop version of the form that we saw, that we filled out, we also have a few other layouts over here that we created. So what this does is this is going to provide optimized user experiences. If you know you've got users that are going to be accessing this form from places other than just a standard desktop computer, we've created a smartphone version, so this is going to make it really easy for users who are using their smartphones to start this quote generation process if they don't have the mobile app. So this basically is just a smartphone optimized layout for the browser to eliminate kind of the left and right scroll. And then in addition to that smartphone layout, we've also got these two mobile layouts. So essentially what this does is this is going to allow users to complete this form through the Nintex mobile app. And what's cool about the app is that you can complete this even without internet connectivity. All right. What do I do? Do I keep going?
I don't know what he's. I don't know why he didn't.
Well, I just saw
Did we lose audio?
a sign popped up that said audio restored. So we must have lost it.
So let's keep going. I think we just got, apologies for that, we just got a sign from one of our colleagues that we may have dropped audio there for a second. So hopefully that wasn't too long. Hopefully we're back. Maybe y'all could shoot a quick chat over in the question panel and let us know if you're hearing us or not.
All good.
And we will, awesome. Okay, and we will continue on. Hopefully we didn't drop you guys for too long. Sorry about that. Okay, now we took a look at the form. Now let's jump over and take a look at the workflow that really makes all of this magic happen. All right. So once again, I've got the workflow designer open. And if we start at the beginning, our workflow is going to start by updating the workflow status and then sending an approval task to our manager to determine if this quote should move forward as submitted. Now we've got two basic outcome approval steps here with a simple approve and reject. However, this is another area where we could certainly beef this up. We can provide the capability for the manager to send the quote back to the requester, maybe with suggested changes, and then build in logic for kind of a feedback loop between those two users until we get all of the information to approve or reject. That's super common among the business processes that we see with our clients. But for the purposes of this demo, we're just going to keep it simple. Now on the reject path, it's pretty basic. We're just going to update the status, send a notification, and then end the workflow. But what I want to focus on is over on the approval path. So we start by, again, updating the workflow status. And then all of this is essentially, we're going to query for all of the data that we need to generate our PDF document. And I'm not going to focus much on all the details of those actions. But essentially, we're gathering data from the current item, from other lists in SharePoint, like the client list, and then we're formatting that data in a way that we want it to appear on the document. And then at the very bottom of our workflow, if I jump down here, we have our document generation action. And that is where I want to focus. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at just how easy it is to automatically generate these documents. There's a couple of configuration options here. So first, we just want to specify where we want to keep our document template. So I actually have a document template over here, a document library over here called Document Templates. And I've got one document in here which is my quote template. So this is how I configured it, right? So I tell it I want to go, my template lives in this document template library. Which template do I want to use? We can also either pick an existing template to leverage or create a new template right here from within the workflow designer. And then I specify a few things about my output. So first of all, what do I want it to be? And I can select that I want it to go directly to be a PDF, or I can keep the original file type like Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. Excuse me. And then finally, where do we want our document to live that's finally generated? So this is where we tell it I want it to go live in the quotes library. And I'm dynamically creating a document name for it. So again, being super uncreative, I'm just giving it the client name, underscore, and then whatever the unique identifier is for this item in the list, and off we go. And then you'll also notice a message at the top of this action, which is really handy. And it's going to tell you how many doc gens are available to you and how many you've used up. So here we see that I've used up 12 out of the 50 in my trial license. Which is great that it gives you kind of a running tally of those. All right, so now let's take a little bit deeper look at how easy it is to manage your templates right from within the Workflow Designer. So when I click Edit in Word, it's going to open up, oh, I think I've already got it open. Let's see, here we go. So pretend I clicked Edit in Word, and it's going to pop up this Word document. I was thinking ahead of myself. And you see basically a familiar document that we looked at earlier. And if we take a look at the final product, we saw that our logo's at the top. And then we've got all of these tokens in the places where our dynamic data is going to populate through. Now these tokens are actually referencing the variables that we set during that workflow process. So all those actions that I kind of scrolled through really quickly, we're querying and then formatting it so that we see like usernames and the formatted dates that we want. We're pulling all of those in and popping them into our template. Now how do we pop those into our template? That Nintex provides us with an add-in over on the right-hand side called the Nintex Document Tagger, which is really cool. And essentially all it does is it's going to give us all of the variables that we've got in our workflow as well as their different data types. So all I need to do is I would pick the variable that I want to add into my document, click over into my document where I want it to be added, and then insert my tag, and now bam, save my template, and the next time this workflow uses this template, I've got my new dynamic reference here as well. You can also manually enter these references if you want to. You can use that syntax with the greater than, less than, but the tagger's there to make it as easy as possible. Okay, and then once I'm finished modifying my template, I simply hit save up at the top, and it saves it into that template library, and then I can finish building out my workflow. All right. So, that is what I had planned to cover today. Nice and quick, jump right through it. Let me jump back over to our slide deck. All right, so that's what we had planned to cover today. We're going to jump into questions in just a minute. I think we've seen a couple of them flow through, so we'll answer those before our time is up. But first I wanted to just quick recap all that we saw today. So we walked through what document generation is in general. We ran through an example from the end user experience to see how easy it is from that perspective. And then we took a look at how it all comes together in the background with the forms designer, the DocGen action, templates, the tagger to automatically add dynamic process data into our final document. Easy peasy, right? Who's excited? Everybody. Yeah. Thank you. All right, now I did want to toss this in here. So for any of you who are not currently taking advantage of the document generation functionality, which I'm going to go ahead and assume is a large portion of you, there is a free trial available which allows for 50 DocGens. And then once you're ready to purchase, it's really easy to kind of roll that into your actual kind of paid licensing. And there's several levels. So we see here that middle column there. We have an option for 12,000 DocGens for $12K, 120,000 DocGens for $24K if you're going to be like really going crazy with this stuff. And then it's not listed here, but there's also an option for a smaller license. So if 50 DocGens of the trial is way too little, but you know that you're not going to need 12,000, there's also an option for 6,000 DocGens for $7K, which is a great option, I think, for you guys getting started. All right, so with that, let's see who's got questions. Again, feel free to shoot them over in the chat window. And I want to just quickly mention to you up on the slide right now, if you've got any questions or you want more information about anything you saw today or how to get started, how Abel Solutions can help you with your SharePoint journey, your Nintex journey, on-prem, Office 365, document generation, we're here to help. We'd love to hear from you. So feel free to contact Carol right away at the email on the screen. All right, so let's take a few questions. First of all, let's see. Okay, so is the document generation action that we saw today currently only available on Office 365? Answer to that is yes. There are actions available on-prem that have kind of always been there, as long as I've been working with Nintex anyway, that provide similar functionality, but not quite to the full seamless extent that we saw today with this specific DocGen action. So, short answer is yes, asterisk. And then, okay, another question along the same lines. If you're thinking about migrating to Office 365 and you want to know what the migration path looks like for Nintex. So actually, that's a really great question and very, very timely at the end of the year here. So Nintex is actually currently running a promotion that's called Nintex Cloud Accelerator Program. It's NCAP for short. And it's designed specifically for existing customers to help you kind of journey to the cloud. So basically, it's going to reward these loyal Nintex customers. It's a limited time incentive program to open up some cloud capacity. So basically, how it works is when you purchase NCAP, and you're an existing customer, you'll continue to have the unlimited workflow model, so everything stays the same with your on-prem environment. And then in addition, you also get Nintex Forms for on-prem, so if you haven't previously had Nintex Forms, this is a great way to jump onto that. And you get the entire product suite for Office 365. Now, there's also an enterprise option with the NCAP program, so with the enterprise option, you get everything I just mentioned. And then you also get a couple of other products, which we actually highlighted at our last webinar. So if you guys weren't able to attend that, I think it's posted up on YouTube, so definitely go check that out. But basically with the enterprise option of NCAP, you also get Hawkeye, which is the new workflow analytics tool, as well as Nintex App Studio, which is going to let you create custom mobile apps. So it's very, very cool. And definitely reach out to Carol if you want to know more about any of that. Okay. Oh, okay, this is a great one. So, is there a way to have the document populate with an unknown number of rows of data in a table? Yes, you can use there's a repeating section control in Nintex Forms that allows you to capture kind of dynamic rows of data on your form. And then the Nintex document tagger that we saw as a part of the template functionality that the Nintex add into our Office documents, it actually provides the capability for you to specify exactly where that kind of collection of information starts, and it'll dynamically build out your nicely formatted table on the document for you, which is really, really cool. We just, in the interest of time for this quick little webinar, we didn't have time to get into all of that, but definitely. Okay, let's see. One question about was this recorded? Yes, that we're recording this. We're going to email it out to all you guys via email, and then post it on our YouTube channel. Where do the Nintex document tagger data get mapped? Can we link to SQL data? That's a really great question. I want to say yes, but I'm not entirely sure of exactly how we would make that happen behind the scenes. So I think we've captured, did we capture who sent in that question? Okay, so let me do a little bit more digging and find out the answer to you, and we'll reach out to you directly with that answer. And anyone else who has that specific answer, feel free to touch base with Carol, and we'll get that answer for you too. Can you use DocGen with SharePoint Office 365 and Nintex Workflow and Forms only, or do you need the add-on? So, no, actually I don't think that you would need the add-in, because there is a way that you can just manually enter those references using that greater than, less than syntax into your template. But you would definitely need the document generation action, but then I think it would be kind of optional if you want to use the tagger. The tagger is really just there to make it easy for you to build out your dynamic documents. With Nintex mobile app, can you fill out and send when you have web access? So I assume this means, can you fill out a form when you are kind of offline or not connected to the internet, and then send it through once you connect back up again? Yes, that's exactly what Nintex Mobile is for. It gives you kind of access to all of these forms. So if you're up in a plane coming back from a business trip and you want to go ahead and start your expense report, you can fill out that form, send it off, it'll get stored into an outbox, and then as soon as you connect up, it'll send right back through to your SharePoint environment. Okay, and can the DocGen workflow be started manually from a list or as a site workflow? Yes, and I want to say yes from the site workflow as well. We just have it where it's automatically going. It's kind of the last steps of this approval process, but yeah, there's no reason that you couldn't manually start this, the document generation process. Okay, so we are, I think, right at time. Exactly right on time. Lots of great questions. Those were really great. Thanks for that. I'm so glad that you guys were here. And I hope that you can see how this document generation tool, I'm really excited about it. It can really enhance your SharePoint Online processes, I think. And then again, just another quick plug. If you have questions, if you need help, if you need information, contact Carol. It's up on the screen. And with that, I thank you so much. Have a great day. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope you enjoy the end of your year, and I hope 2017 is a great year for you all, and we will see you there. Thanks so much. I'm muted.